But first, we do want to bring in Mahmoud Nasser. Mahmoud is a photographer and writer who lived in Beit Lahia in the northern Gaza Strip. He was based in Gaza until just recently when Israel's genocidal campaign forced him and his family to leave. Mahmoud, thank you so much for being with us on the Electronic Intifada live stream.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us about what you went through in Gaza and what went into your decision to leave for now.
It's almost indescribable, really, what we went through. Since the first moment we woke up. It's you can't really put it into words. It's something like we never experienced. You know, I mean, I've lived in Gaza for quite a while, but I've never experienced a war of this magnitude, of this, in terms of loss, of life, of infrastructure, of everything. Um, like as time went by, it became obvious that I couldn't really stay there. We had to leave. Me, my family, my wife was pregnant. She couldn't really put up with being at camp. The lack of food and sanitation and clean water. So we had to gather ourselves up, and having like a Canadian citizenship sort of allowed us an opportunity to exit. But that exit, unfortunately, came with lots of difficulty, emotional difficulty. It's the you feel like an immense guilt, leaving. It's kind of weird to think about. Anybody in that situation would want to leave the first opportunity they have, but the moment you do, the moment you're in a hotel, after being in a camp for 2 weeks, it feels strange, and you feel very guilty. It's like because all your families, your relatives, your friends, they're still stuck, but you get to carry out your normal life, and it's like you can't even come to terms with these thoughts and these ideas.
You published just a few days ago, we published a photo story, a photo essay of yours, and just really stark, moving images that you captured on your way out of Gaza. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of these photos that you took? There's this first one just at the top of kind of a very empty courtyard, and
hmm
two people with suitcases. Can you talk a little bit about what was going on there and what was happening when you took this photo?
This was the last moment. This photo is essentially just portrays everything that I felt in that brief moment. This was you're leaving Gaza. It feels empty. The picture, everything looks empty. Typically, there would be no two people. It would be full on a regular day. Without war, this kind of picture you never really see. So this was it. Like two people with suitcases. They're walking towards the gate. They're leaving Gaza.
Mm.
They're saying they're leaving everything behind, and you can see they only have two suitcases. They're lucky they have a suitcase. Some people left with a backpack, like myself and majority of my families. Um, yeah, it's kind of a strange reality, and um, as I was leaving, I felt like I had to document the, this experience, in the best way that I can. But being in like a place like this, you're not you can't freely pick up your camera and take pictures, so I had to be sneaky. Uh,
Mm.
and some of these pictures, some of them I took with my phone. Um, and here in this picture, you see the the border police, the Palestinian side, stamping the passports, and it was quite a trip for us. We were actually really scared for our wives because we weren't sure if they were gonna cross. Seeing that they don't have citizenship abroad. My brother's fiance didn't even have a passport; she had only a Palestinian ID. But alhamdulillah, things went smoothly, and we were able to leave.
Mm.
Mahmoud, how was the? I'm going to ask you two questions. How was the reception from the Egyptian side, both the officials and any people you encountered, and also Did you receive any assistance from the Canadian government as Canadians in order to get out of Gaza?
I mean, now we don't receive any sort of assistance, but at the moment you left, they took care of the visas to enter Egypt. They took care of transportation, as well as 3 days stay in a hotel, and they sort of facilitated the visa process. They expedited the entire process in a matter of a couple of days. I mean, so they helped us with that, but um, I mean, I appreciate whatever they did to help us leave, but they still, in some way, like they're connected to this in one way or another, right?
Um, Tell us a little bit about what your daily life was like in Gaza before Israel started carpet bombing, um, and why you decided not to, live in Canada, but to live in Gaza with your family.
Life was beautiful. It was a simple life. Gaza is somewhat behind in so many ways, compared to the rest of the world. You know, and like I'm a simple guy. I don't like a complicated life, and so it sort of fit very well with my nature, and just it's part of my childhood. It's your relatives. It's something you can't replace. You can't find any other place. Your uncles, your childhood friends, the same street you walked at when you were a child. Just seeing those things, they make you want to go there. They make you want to live there, and it's sort of like also seeing that Gaza is what it is. You sort of want to help. Having lived in Canada, you have a degree, you have a potential to help your country, to help your cause in any way possible. And I sort of saw it as like a calling. I had to go there. I wanted to go there. I wanted to capture my country in a way that, you know, according to my eye, according to the way that I saw things. And it's just, it's a beautiful place to live in. We had a business. I was a tennis coach. And I did freelance photography also. And it's just everything about Gaza is amazing. But I don't know if I can say the same about it now, because it seems like everything has changed. It's the same. The things that we loved, um, the things that I loved when I was there, I don't think they're still there anymore. It's
Mahmoud, you were living in Beit Lahia in the north.
Beit Hanoun,
Beit Hanoun.
which is Beit Lahia is very close to Beit
Yeah,
Hanoun.
in Beit Hanoun. Tell us about Beit Hanoun. And of course, Beit Hanoun was in the, let's say, it's very close to the boundary with Israel. So
Hmm.
how did you first experience the war, and where did you go? What was the course of your lives during the Israeli attack these past few weeks?
Well, generally, Beit Hanoun is always the first place that gets hit in every war. It's the first place that has to evacuate, and it's the the place that gets damaged and destroyed the most. In 2014, we lost our generation home in Beit Hanoun due to the war. But when this war broke out, I wasn't in Beit Hanoun. My father was there. I was with my wife in Gaza. We have an apartment near the Almina, and the moment the war broke out, me and my brother were neighbors. We sort of had to decide what do we do? Do we go to Beit Hanoun to stay with my father, or do we bring my dad to us? And we were confused. Do we go? Do we not go? We didn't know what to do. But eventually, my dad ended up coming to Gaza. Now thinking about,
To Gaza City.
yeah, to Gaza City. Now thinking about what transpired um, days later, it was a great decision because Beit Hanoun was the first place to evacuate, and it got hit really hard. And had we gone there, um, we don't know what would have happened.
You stayed in Gaza City, but at a certain point, you said that you had to move to a shelter.
Yeah,
At what point did that happen? And what was going on around you?
everything just happened so quick at the beginning. The war started 3 days later. We evacuated. They just it's quiet during the war. The streets are very quiet. There's absolutely no noise. And the second you start to hear the murmuring, the chatter in the streets, something is wrong. People are going to evacuate. And my dad heard it and he started screaming, "We got to evacuate. Everybody's got to leave." We took our bags and we left. We went to our family restaurant where all of our other relatives who left Beit Hanoun, and they were also staying there. But then that same day we went to the United Nations headquarters. My dad knew a few people there. He also used to work there back in 2019. And so we stayed at the United Nations for a few days, around a week, and then we had to evacuate again. As you know, when the IDF ordered everybody in the north to evacuate south, all the INGOs and the UNRWA and the UN employees, they were the first people to get the notification that they have to evacuate. And it's from that moment we left south. And from there, we lived in one apartment, and then we went to another apartment, and then from there it got crazy. The bombing kept getting closer and closer around us in Khan Yunis, and then we made the decision to go to the camp. It was it's cramped, it's tough, it's hard. You sleep on the ground, but at least we felt somewhat safe.
And then talk about, Mahmoud, in the camp, did people have access to food? Was UNRWA present? Were there rations being given out? What about water, medical care? What conditions are people in the camp you were at? And this was near Khan Yunis.
Yes, this was in Khan Yunis.
Okay.
This is essentially the biggest camp. It's around 40,000 people, and every day new people kept coming in. The conditions they were really tough, really, really tough. There's no space for anybody to prop up a new tent. So they would come in. You would see many people just sleeping on the pavement, just on the ground. The water situation was hard. Uh, there was no clean water whatsoever. Like drinking filtered water was a luxury for a certain moment. Um, there was no food rations. We got whatever was allowed in um, at the border, whatever support, whatever humanitarian aid was allowed in. This is what we got. And as every day went by, food became more scarce. Um, the day that I left Gaza, there was no salt, there was no chickpeas, there was all those dried legumes and stuff. They ran out. Um, and the bread situation was really hard. There's no gas, and flour became almost rare. It's so hard to get your hands on flour to bake bread, and you couldn't even buy it because lines extend for hours and hours. You have to go at dawn and wait 12 hours to get a chance at getting a bread that would last you for one day. And then this is a process that has to repeat every day. Yeah. And getting water, you have to do that every day. It's a kind of stress that's unimaginable. Waking up every day thinking, how am I going to get bread? How am I going to get water? How am I going to, ensure that I'm safe? It's the kinds of things that a human being, the human mind is not supposed to endure for 52 days.
And then, Mahmoud, one of the standard claims that you'll hear American and Canadian and British and European politicians say is that Hamas is a terrorist organization. The Palestinian people are completely innocent of Hamas, and we distinguish between the two. And they believe that by bombing Gaza, by murdering civilians, that they will drive a wedge between the resistance and the Palestinian people in Gaza. Is that a realistic view? Are they, for you having lived in Gaza all these years and then over the past 50 days, what can you say about where people's minds are in this indescribable situation, one that no one who hasn't been through it can really understand. But what was your impression of how people in Gaza are reacting to everything that was happening?
I mean, they would react like any person who is attacked would react, you know. Um, they feel, I mean, whenever there are rockets, you know, they would go up, like Palestinian resistance rockets, they would go. Whenever they're launched, you hear always like a roar in the camp. You know, people are happy. They're happy because they're fighting back in one way. It's sort of a moral reaction. Um, but deep down, everybody felt broken. You know, I wouldn't say hopeless. It's just something that they never lose hope. You know, the people in Gaza, but um, it was hard. I mean, I don't wanna. I don't like. I'm not sure how much of them supported the war, how much of them supported Hamas, but uh, this is like a human thing. This is about the people, and the people, they were all struggling. Not a single one person was sort of just happy about everything that's going on. You know, they've lost homes, they've lost loved ones, they've lost their future. Almost every person that I met at the camp just like, take me with you. You know, they would say, I don't want to be here after the war. I want to leave. I don't want to stay here. I don't want to stay here. Um, and it's just, it breaks your heart to see all these kids that, you know, always dreamt of being something in Gaza, have that being robbed from them, you know, to such a scale, you know, like a nationwide scale. Entire population got sick of what's happening, to the point where just many of them would actually tell me that dying actually felt better than surviving, feeling like you're gonna die every day. You know, this war is for the people. It was different than everything else. This is unmistakably different. You know, it's everyone felt like a victim. Everybody felt like a target. I felt like a target for 38 days. Anytime I went to a supermarket, I had to sort of watch out. I have to look up. I was worried. I was scared. My wife was scared for me. um, and just feeling like you're a target when you've done nothing. You're just a person. You're just a human being. You know, going about things, living your life, working, taking care of your family, and then all of a sudden you feel like you could die. Somebody could kill you, and it's kind of a hard prospect to accept, but we did, and we lived through it, and those who survived are still trying to keep fighting, and those who left, like myself, um, I don't know, it feels weird.
Yeah. Mahmoud, let's look at another photo essay that we published on the Electronic Intifada of yours. And this one you specifically focused on children.
Hmm.
Can you talk about what, the cursed fate of Gaza's children is the name of the photo essay. And this was published about 3 weeks ago. Um, what do you know about the kids that you photographed? Have you been able to keep in touch with any of them or their families? Do you know their fate? The ones that you met on the streets.
All I know is none of them will have a chance to leave. This is a certain, um, because from what I know, from the time that I spent with them, they don't have any passports. They don't have anybody outside that has a passport that can sponsor them. So effectively speaking, they're just stuck. You know, they're still at the camp. They're still putting up with the worsening situation, that happen daily. Um, and their chances at life are sort of diminishing. Because even when the war ends, there won't be any schools. There won't be any playgrounds. There will be nothing to do. They won't have their own home. And even the smile on that little girl's face, maybe on the day that she goes home and she asks her dad, "Where's my house?" And what is her dad gonna say? And there will be no smiling. Uh, I don't think their fate is just to continue to survive. Um, everything has been robbed away from them. Everything. Usually kids, as I mentioned in the story, the kids are innocent. They don't know anything. They don't even understand the idea of racism or the idea of politics. They don't even understand what this war is or why it happens. They're just a free souls, but free souls outside of Gaza. In Gaza, they're not free. They don't live the life of what a kid should live, and unfortunately, they have to accept this reality. And but what can they do?
I mean, they're just truly stunning photographs of these kids. These children that Israel is perfectly content with carpet bombing and traumatizing for generations. I mean, this is a generational trauma, multi-generational, and it didn't just happen, 6 weeks ago. Of course, this has been 75 years of unending brutal trauma for these kids. You mentioned that your wife is pregnant. Can you talk about the future that you want your child to have?
I mean, I always wanted to raise my child in Gaza. It's that's what when I get married, my wife sort of wanted to live a better life outside, but I told her, it's no, I want my kid to be brought up here to experience the life, somewhat the kind of life that I experienced growing up. I want the kid to meet their uncles, and I want them to play outside, and I want them to go to the sea, like we went to the sea, and I want them to have falafel, and I just wanted them to grow up, learn the language, understand their culture, and just be a part of that amazing place. But things have changed, you know, and I would go back to Gaza in a drop of a dime. I would go in a heartbeat. But um, there has to be some guarantees this time. I don't want to go through what I went through again. It's sort of I told my wife, I was like, I don't want you to feel this. Like, I don't want you to ever to have to go through this ever again. Because just looking at her, uh, you know, for those 38 days, every day she would ask me, "Is there a truce? Is there a truce? When is the truce? Is it gonna end?" And I just tell her, "Oh no, just relax. Just things are fine. We're alive. Just relax. It will happen." And that's it.
Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit like, leave a comment. These engagements help us with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps us to get around Silicon Valley censorship as much as possible. It does make a difference. You can also support our journalism by going to electronicintifada.net and clicking on donate now. Thank you.